Hi, my name is Cynthia Evans, and I am with Simplifying Social Security. I want to spend a few minutes today to talk to you about what Social Security can do for your family. Now, sometimes when we think about simplifying Social Security, we think about Social Security retirement, Medicare, Social Security Administration deals with older people that have worked a long time and paid into their Social Security system, and now they're ready to collect their benefits. Well, part of that is true. However, there's another section that we need to look at also, and that is for your family. What if you, the worker, you don't live to be of retirement age? What if you become disabled? What if you just have a situation where you have family members that might be entitled to benefits? What do you do then? Is it any good to have Social Security that you've paid into? Yes, it is. Because they will reap from your work time, the money that you have worked and paid into Social Security in certain situations, as we're going to talk about today. But they will not be eligible for benefits unless you have worked and paid into Social Security. You have to have worked and paid into Social Security for your eligible beneficiaries to receive benefits if any of these events happen. Well, what events are we talking about? Well, you can receive benefits if you are alive, you've worked, paid into Social Security, and you retire or you become disabled. Well, who's eligible for benefits then? If you are married, your spouse would be eligible for benefits. If you have children of a certain age, your child will be eligible for benefits as well. Well, what about if you do not live to be of retirement age? What if you pass away and you're not of 62 or older? What happens to your benefits then? As we have seen in this pandemic, it has been unpredictable for people that have worked, paid into Social Security, they have young families. What happens to their benefits? Are they eligible for benefits as well? Well, yes, they are. Their family is entitled to benefits. Same thing, if you are married, then your spouse would be eligible for survivor benefits. If you have children of a certain age, they would also be eligible for benefits. But we need to understand that it is very vital that the worker works and pays into Social Security so that those that are left behind, their family members, the eligible family members, will receive benefits on their work record. Well, what does that mean? That means if you are not working or have not worked enough under Social Security regulations, your family might not be entitled to any benefits. Now, that is not the responsibility for the Social Security Administration. It is the worker's responsibility to make sure that they have worked and paid into Social Security to receive benefits if they are of a life case, or if they pass away, their family is eligible for the benefits if they are not. So I say this to make sure that we have an understanding, that you have an understanding of what is being done for you and your family when you work and pay into Social Security. Okay. So you might ask, well, who is entitled to my Social Security benefits? We say entitled beneficiaries. Well, what does that mean? Well, excuse me, the worker must be insured. What does that mean? That means that they must have worked enough and paid into Social Security enough to receive benefits. Now, worker has to have earnings that are enough for him to receive or her to receive benefits, the worker to receive benefits, but also for the family members to receive benefits as well. Well, what do I mean by that? Just because you have worked and paid into Social Security and the worker is entitled to benefits does not mean that the family will be entitled to benefits as well. If the worker has worked, but they have paid into Social Security very minimal amount because of their earnings, it is based on the worker's earnings on how much the family and the worker receive. So if you have just worked and paid into Social Security a minimal amount, then it might be that the worker might have benefits, but some family members might be eligible for benefits because of the relationship, but they might not be eligible because of the amount that has been paid into Social Security by the worker. And that is a common term with Social Security that's called the pickle max, pickle, P-I-C-K-L-E, pickle max. That means that the worker is eligible for all that is due on that record. So you might have a spouse that they meet all the other requirements, but there is not money available on that record because the worker had not paid enough into Social Security to receive, for the family members to receive benefits. Now, if it starts off as a pickle max, is it always a pickle max? No, because sometimes the situation changes. Let's say that the person is receiving disability benefits and there's a pickle max involved with that. Well, then the person passes away. Then the benefits are then figured at a different amount, at a different rate, because it is now not a life case, but it is a survivor case. Okay, those are figured a little differently. I'm not going to get into technicalities, but don't be discouraged if the person that you're filing for benefits on, or you are the worker and you have not worked enough for your family to receive benefits, then there's a possibility that down the road they could. Another way is because of the COLA, cost of living adjustments, change the amount that the worker is receiving. There are times when the amount, very small, might make the person, the auxiliaries, the eligible beneficiaries, eligible for benefits off the record. It won't be a lot, but a lot does not necessarily mean bad things with Social Security, and I'll explain that later. The amount is not as important as sometimes the benefits that you incur from those insured status. What do I mean by that? Don't forget, there's also Medicare involved. Could be Medicare for a survivor later on down the road. Because when a worker works and pays into Social Security, it is not just for this time only. Case in point, a person who has worked and paid into Social Security has a family. They pass away. We're talking about survivor benefits. Well, this parent has 2 children under the age of 18. They're going along. And then the youngest child turns 16, so the parent stops receiving benefits. What happens next? The parent that stopped receiving benefits turns 60. Guess what? That person can go back, depending on their earnings and other situations, but they could possibly go back and draw benefits on the deceased record, even though that child is not under the age of 18 any longer, because under the age of 16, excuse me, because they are now in a new category. They are no longer young parent with child in care, which is what it was when the child was 16, but now they are a widow or widower, depending on the situation. So those are things that you need to keep in mind as things go on when you're working. It's not, please think of this mind frame that we have. This is just for retirement, this is just for Medicare. No, this is family insurance. This is insurance for your family. I think of it like this. Most of us have life insurance. Some of us, when we work, we have disability insurance on the job. This is a policy, so to speak, where you're insuring your family in case of something happening to you. You don't have to have 3 or 4 different agents. You have one agency that takes care of the disability part. Your family could receive disability benefits. They could receive survivor benefits. And just think of how much time it would take for you to find people that are knowledgeable in these different policies. How long could you receive those policies? You don't have to pay, you don't even have to think of writing out a premium notice or a premium check each month for this to take place. You work, they take the taxes out, they put it towards the benefits that your family might be due at some point in time. And you, as awful as Social Security Administration gets a bum rap, and I think they do sometimes, but you get a bum rap because of the situations that occur. But just think about it. What would happen if they were not there? Some people would not even think of putting money aside for when I become disabled and I have young children. Life is happening. So much is going on. So think about that when you think about what should I do if something should happen to me. If you have worked and paid into Social Security, it might not be a lot of money that you're thinking that you're going to receive, but think about this, it's something. Not only that, is it could possibly lead into Medicare. And we know that medical insurance nowadays is a lot. People say, oh, but Medicare doesn't take care of a lot. It doesn't, but I've been to countries and I've been to places where they would be awfully grateful for having what we have. Think about that. Next point. I want to cover what Social Security looks at when they talk about family members or family benefits. First of all, like I said, the worker must be insured. They must have worked and paid into Social Security. You must have an eligible relationship. Well, what does that mean? That means that if we're talking about children, spouses, stepchildren, adoptive children, those kind of categories, it must be something that the Social Security Administration recognizes and can be proven as eligible to have benefits on your record. Let me stress this. We look at the Social Security Administration as being the guard to benefits that you have worked very hard to and paid into the system. The Social Security Administration is bound by law to make sure that the right benefit is paid to the right individual. Therefore, when you file for benefits, you must prove who you are in relation to the person that you're filing benefits on. So if I go into the Social Security office and I file for benefits as a spouse, I must prove that relationship in some way, saying, okay, this is my spouse, therefore I am requesting payment on that record. Sometimes it's very simple, sometimes it's complicated, but there still is some request from the administration for you to provide showing that you are due this money. So when we talk about adoption, when we talk about stepchildren, when we talk about step grandchildren, those are possibilities available to people that meet those categories, but proof must be given. Some investigation also must be given from the Social Security Administration to make sure that it meets the requirements for the Social Security Administration's guidelines, laws, regulations. I know that sounds very technical, but understand it's to protect you. You don't want someone who knows quite a bit about your life to go into the Social Security office and say, yes, this person is disabled, or they're dead, or they passed away, and I'm that person's child. Well, they've made up a birth certificate. They just come in off the street. They just, okay, I want, no, the Social Security has to guard against those funds to make sure that they can say, this is why we pay this person. When I started with the Social Security Administration over 29 years ago, I was told, when you start paying someone, think of it this way: you are physically writing them a check every month. You are entitling them to benefits. That sticks in your head when you do that. Because if I approve you for spousal benefits, when you have young children under the age of 18 or 16, you have those young children. When you turn 60, you don't have to prove that again. Because if you proved it on that record one time, you don't need to prove that you were the wife again. You've already proven it the first time. In most cases, and I say this in most cases. So make sure that when you approach the Social Security office, you have the understanding that, listen, they're not trying to browbeat you. They want to make sure, and they want to pay you correctly, pay the right person for the benefits. Okay, so you have to have an eligible relationship. What else? There are certain requirements that you have to meet. Age. I keep saying 16 or 18. Well, let's go back. There is not an age for disability. Okay, there's not an age for disability. There is an age for retirement. You have to be at least 62 to receive benefits as a child. There is no age for how young you can be. Now, the age for when it could terminate or stop is age 18 or age 19 and still in high school, full-time student. Or if you are disabled before age 22, you could also receive benefits as a disabled child. So that's another requirement: age. Work. For disability, there are limits for your work that are different than limits for your work if you're retired. So don't get those two mixed up. They're very different for different reasons, but both of them have to deal with, you have to meet the requirements set forth by Social Security. When you're looking at retirement for Social Security, you're looking at the fact that you are working at a reduced level that requires a Social Security definition for retirement. Now that's for people that are under the full retirement age, and that varies from age to age, from year to year, as to what your date of birth is. And you can look that up on the website. But to make sure that you have fulfilled the requirement or the definition for Social Security Administration for retirement, you have to have reduced your earnings. And that's why the limits are there for those that are under the full retirement age. Disability. To be on disability, you don't have to stop working, but you do have to reduce your work, or you have to be so disabled that it stops or reduces your ability to work. You know, it can't be. I had one lady call me and say, I'm pregnant and I want to file for disability. Well, that's not a disabling condition that is going to stop you from working at least a year or longer or end in death. That's how severe the Social Security Disability Program definition is. So no, it's not easy to get on. No, just because your employer says you're disabled or you can't do the same things that you did before, are you able to get on disability? I usually don't work with disability, but I have worked with disability when I did work for the Social Security Administration. So I do know a lot about it. But as far as filing for benefits, that is something that I hope that you are able to do on your own, or if you need assistance, I will be more than happy to walk you through that. But those are some of the highlights about Social Security benefits in general, okay? And that's kind of what we're talking about today. So about family benefits. So let's see what else. What does this word mean, insured? I've used that quite a lot. And let me tell you, I'll read the straight definition from Social Security, then I'll expound on it. You must be, I'm here, with the age of glasses, okay? So it says you must be insured under the Social Security program before retirement, survivor, or disability benefits can be paid to you or your family. What that means is, like I said, you have to have worked and paid enough under the Social Security regulations to receive benefits under these programs, the retirement, survivor, and disability benefits. We consider, the Social Security Administration considers the number of quarters of coverage you earned to determine if you are insured. Well, what does that mean? That means that every year, Congress sets a limit to how much a quarter of coverage is. A quarter of coverage is every 3 months. There are 4 quarters in a year, so every 3 months, there's a new amount. That used to be the way that they figured it many years ago, I think around 1978. However, those calculations have changed a little bit, and every year a quarter of coverage costs more. Okay, so that means you have to earn more in your wages to receive a quarter of coverage. Let's say, and I don't have the figures here, but let's just say a quarter of coverage, or for a year, a quarter of coverage is $1,500. So that means 4 quarters of coverage. You multiply 1,500 times 4. So about $6,000 so about $6,000 is what you'd have to earn, roughly about that. And that's what they mean when they say, we consider the number of quarters you earn to determine if you're insured. So if you need 40 quarters of coverage, that's how much you need. You need 40 quarters of coverage. You make sure that you have that 1,500 each, or 6,000 for so many years, and that's how much you are earned for being insured. Now that's for being insured. Now, how much do you receive? Well, it depends on how much you worked and earned. if you just made that minimal amount and you just had $1,500 each quarter, which it doesn't matter now. If you had just $6,000 for the year, for the next 10 years, that's how much you made, $6,000, $6,000. You would probably have or close to a pickle max because you didn't earn a lot of money. But let's say you had the $6,000, you had the pickle max, you're still insured, but you don't have a lot of earnings. Your family might not be eligible for any benefits because you earned the very minimum. Okay. Let's say you have $8,000 a quarter. Okay, so $8,000 . So you have 32, 35, 37, whatever. You have that amount. We make about 32,000, 38,000, whatever. You're going to have much more than the person that made the 6,000 per quarter or per year. Why? Because your amount of your quarters is higher. You're both insured, but your amount is going to be different because the earnings that you had are going to be higher. So when you come into the Social Security office and you look and say, oh, I've earned all this money, how do you figure my benefits? Well, that's part of the way they figure your benefits, is they look at how much you worked and how much you earned. It is based on what the worker has worked and earned paid into Social Security. I hope that makes a little bit of sense. It kind of confuses me sometimes, but you pull up the amount on the Social Security website and see how much a quarter of coverage is for each year. You take that amount and you can sometimes eyeball and say, oh yeah, I have 4 quarters that year. If you're not sure, then you take the amount that you do have for the year and divide that by 4 to see if you meet whatever the quarter of coverage is. Sometimes you might not get all 4 quarters. Let's say you might have 3.2. Well, you don't get 0.2 earnings for a quarter. You get the whole amount. So you would get 3 quarters of coverage for that year. Okay. So that's kind of a little bit a preview of how you figure if you have enough quarters of coverage when you're talking about these different plans for benefits. And so it goes on to say, you earn a quarter of coverage, which is called a credit. You need 40 credits to receive disability for a certain amount of work under Social Security. But listen to this, but you may earn no more than 4 quarters per year. That's all you can have. There aren't any more than 4 quarters in a year. 4 quarters, that's it. 4 quarters. So you make $1 billion, fine, you get 4 quarters. You make $6,000, you get 4 quarters. That's it. You don't get any more quarters because you earned more. Everybody, when they have the when they have the amount for coverage for whatever the QC is, the quarter of coverage is, and you have 4 of them, that's all you can get that year. Move on to the next year. And I hope that makes sense. If not, I will have the Social Security Administration pamphlet reference on here. So if you wanted to look it up as far as the quarters of coverage, go ahead and do so. You can do that. Okay, so let's move on to the next topic that I want to talk about, and that's eligible relationships. What does that mean? Eligible relationships mean that you have to have, and I talked about this a little bit, but I want to go a little deeper into it. You have to have a relationship with someone that has worked and paid into Social Security, and they say there is proof that says this person is my, now they might not say it, because sometimes in marriages, I've had situations where the spouses don't, well, she's not my spouse anymore. He's not my spouse anymore. We're not together anymore. Some investigation has to go into that, because if there's an allegation, Social Security needs to find proof to get that resolved. Children, spouses are the most normal, regular relationships that we're talking about. Now, what does that mean? Spouse. I live in Texas, so I'm in Texas, and we have a common law state. There are situations where a spouse, where spouses do not necessarily have to stand before minister, judge, priest, and all that, to be married, legally married. Well, just because you are living with someone, and I want to repeat that, just because you are living with someone does not mean that you are common law. Like I said before, there has to be proof. And the Social Security Administration will ask for certain proof, documentation. And you need to make sure that this is something that you're aware of before you start making these applications, because certain things ask for certain kinds of proof. Okay. So when you're talking about eligible relationships, when I'm talking about eligible relationships, one kind of relationship might not be, regarded as a relationship in another part of the country. So look at those things when you are thinking about or discussing filing for benefits on this person's record. Children. Adoption is one of the things that comes to my mind. Stepchildren relationships. Sometimes they are different because of where you live. Now, Social Security is a federal program, but Social Security is also governed by the laws of the state. So when you look at that, don't forget, they are guarded by the laws of the state. So when we're talking about either common law marriage or any kind of marriage or any kind of relationship that has a state involvement, you might want to look in and contact the Social Security office or contact me, and I will try to find out the information for you that says, because you live in this particular state or this particular country, guess what? This is the way the Social Security Administration looks at it. For children, adoption, step relationship, children that are born when the parents are not married, that's another situation. So there are things that you need to be aware of that you're going to have to provide the proof so that Social Security can say, okay, this is why we're paying them. Social Security does not believe that people just are out there just to get the money. They have laws that have been written so that they can pay the people correctly. That's what the whole thing is. And once you provide the documentation that is required, you will get your benefits. Okay. I touched on this earlier when I was talking about certain requirements that are requested or enforced by the Social Security Administration. I talked about age, and I talked about the age being for a spouse. When we're talking about for a spouse on retirement, it's 62. for a widow or widower that is not disabled is 60. I'm just talking about age now. I'm not talking about other requirements, but these are the basic things that Social Security would look at. Disabled, widow or widowers, that would be 50 years of age. So when you're looking at, do I qualify? Well, are you 62? No. And you want to file for spousal benefits on a retirement person? No. No. If you're talking about if you're widow or widower, am I 60? Yeah. Then okay, maybe you would be eligible for a widow or widower's benefit. Also, he has to be deceased. I've had women and men call me and say, can I file for widow's benefits or widower's benefits? When did they pass away? Oh, they're not dead yet. Well, no, that's part of being eligible for survivor benefits. The person has to be deceased. Earnings. Let's talk about more in particular earnings. There is a limit, and we talked about that. The earnings limit for workers who are younger than the full retirement age, and I'm talking about for 2021, this was when it was written, will increase to $19,560. And that is in 2021. If you go over that, it says that we, the Social Security Administration, deduct $1 from the benefits for every $2 that you're over that $19,560. That is very vital that you understand that. And it does not matter if you are filing for retirement or if you're filing for widow's benefit. Anyone, as a matter of fact, even if you're a child and you're filing for benefits, that is a question that will be asked. Are you working and earning over the limit for the year? And that's $19,560 as of what we're talking today. Now, that is people under the full retirement age, okay? Earning limits for people reaching their full retirement age in 2022 will increase to $51,960. At that point, Social Security deducts $1 from benefits for each $3 earned over the $51,960 until the month the worker turns full retirement age. Okay, that's a mouthful. So let's put it this way. Let's say you're going to be 67 this year. You will be 67 in July, okay? You're working and you're bebopping, but your whole earnings for the whole year will be $80,000, okay? Now, they will look at your earnings prior to July, prior to the full retirement age month. See, it says here, we deduct $1 from benefits for each $3 earned over the $51,960 until the month the worker turns full retirement age. The month the worker turns full retirement age, in our example, is July. So the month before is June. So they look at your earnings from January to June. That's all they look at. Are you over the 51,000? You have to put pen to paper. But if not, you'll receive your benefits. Because after the full retirement age, the month after the full retirement age, sky's the limit. Make whatever you want. Social Security doesn't care. Because you are over the full retirement age. Now let's say that you're over the full retirement age. Let's say in next year, you're still working. As a matter of fact, you get a raise. You're making over 100,000 now. Okay, great. Do you have to pay anything back? If you're over the full retirement age, you turn 67, your full retirement age was July of this year, we're looking at July or 2023. What happens? Nothing. Keep on working, make whatever you want when you're over the full retirement age. It says here, there is no limit on earnings for workers who are full retirement age or older for the entire year. So we're talking about 2022, you work, you earn under the full retirement age amount from January to June. Okay. From July through December, it doesn't matter. January of the following year, your full retirement age is over the full retirement age for the whole year. Guess what? There is no limit. There's no limit. So continue to work and make whatever you want. Let's say you do this. You're working and you don't want to stop working. You don't want to draw your benefits. You don't, you just wanted to keep piling up. Well, your full retirement age is 67. You turn 67 this year. You say, I don't want to touch that. I'll file for my Medicare, which hopefully you would have done 2 years earlier. But then you look at it and you say, well, what do I do now? Do I have to file for benefits? No. As a matter of fact, it might be to your advantage not to file until you're age 70, if that is what you want to do, because there are things called delayed retirement credits. Well, what does that mean? In our example of the person becoming 67 in July of 2022, that person can receive what we call delayed retirement credits from July to 70. And those are extra credits that you receive every month after the month that you turn full retirement age. So, but they're only good from the month you turn full retirement age until 70. If you wait till after 70 to receive delayed retirement credits after age 70, there are none, okay? However, you should receive your delayed retirement credits after age 70, and that's the max. That's a little cushion that you can work and earn. You can work, now receive your benefits, and let it go. As a matter of fact, you don't even have to work. You can just let it just accumulate if you don't want to receive them. But you probably want to, if you're going to wait, it might be a good idea to just look into waiting till your full retirement age and then see if you can get some extra if you continue to work. Okay, that's just up to you. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Let me get some water. Excuse me. I do hope that what I have presented to you today has given you some insight to the Social Security Administration, some of the very fundamental things that we have talked about. If you have any questions whatsoever, please contact me. While I have a few minutes, let me go ahead and tell you a little bit about myself. Excuse me. My name is Cynthia Evans, and I am with the Simplifying Social Security. And what is Simplifying Social Security? That is a program, not a program so much, but it's a consulting program, I keep saying program, that I have started since I retired, which was in 2017. I'm sorry, I'm just a little dry here. But I wanted to give people another avenue to get assistance when things with the Social Security office are so hectic sometimes. It's hard to get into the Social Security office, no matter where you live. It is a it is a big organization. The people there really, for the most part, really want to help you. And I want to help you. I am here to help you. I try to live up to the motto that I have: you are not alone. You're not by yourself. You are in this journey together. We're in this journey together. Not only that, but I want to give you the expertise that I believe I have from my 29 years of service. I have worked almost every position in the local office, and I try to give my expertise in the areas of maybe just answering questions, getting the information for you. Not only that, but showing you where in the Social Security Administration's pamphlets that are available. The website is wonderful because, believe me, there are exceptions to every exception almost. And see, exception to every exception almost. And that's the way it really works. And sometimes you're not aware of those exceptions. And that's what I'm here for. My prices try to be very reasonable. I want the average person to be able to afford the assistance that I can bring and the expertise that I can bring. If you have any need for my assistance or just have a question, please give me a call. My phone number and my contact information will be associated with this video. And I try to have a video every week. I'm calling it Tidbit Tuesday because I want you to get a little bit of insight as to what's going on. Bring your questions. I start at 11 o'clock a.m. Central Time. And please make this time for you to get the questions that you need answered so that you're more knowledgeable in what is going on. Thank you very much.